Hello, you guys.
Hi there.
I thought that we would make a video where we kind of formally introduced ourselves because it's been kind of evolving as we go. So I just wanted to say that I'm Larissa, and
Darren.
that's Darren, and that's my husband. And we've been married for almost 12 years, and we have an almost teenager, Maddie. And yeah, and as you probably already saw from the title of the video, we both actually have movement disorders. And I would want to point you to our very first video where I talk about how I have been diagnosed with FMD and FND about 15 months ago or so. And it just kind of showcases the start of my journey. But we thought that it was time to tell you guys something really interesting about us, in that when Darren and I first met, would you say it was, it was when we first met, I found out that Darren had a movement disorder. So I guess we're going to take the time. So if you want to hear about my story when you're finished, go check out our first video. But for now, Darren's just going to briefly share his story with you guys. So.
Yes. Hi. Well, I have had a movement disorder for since I was 32, and I am now almost 45, so it's been almost about 13 years. And I was diagnosed ultimately with myoclonus, is what it's called. And basically, myoclonus is characterized by very fast, rhythmic shaking that can affect virtually almost any body part. For me, it affects my right leg, and there's various other symptoms that come along with it. Basically, how it started for me was I had been working out at the gym, and I had tried a new workout routine. It was a decline leg press, and the weight was too much. And when I re-racked the machine, I ended up straining my low back, and my legs were straining also to re-rack the weight, which was too heavy for me. I was working with a trainer, which sometimes is wise and sometimes isn't. In this case, it led to an injury. But and I certainly don't blame them at all, but because not everybody that goes to a gym and gets a gym injury ends up walking out of there with a movement disorder that results from it. So
Started with twitching.
yeah, what happened is my leg started twitching, and I had a low back strain, which I figured, I'm just kind of out of the workout game for 4 to 6 weeks, and bummer, and had twitching in my right leg and my quad, and it just didn't go away. And it kind of just hung around. I figured it was just because of the muscle strain, and went to the chiropractors, did conservative type of treatments, and after about, a few weeks to a month of it, the twitching turned into more rhythmic, but localized movement of that quad. And it was about that time I had a chiropractor that recommended me to go in to get an MRI, at which point I did. And sent me to, ended up going to numerous doctors. And early on, I would say I got a correct...
Excuse me.
It's okay. So, sorry to believe husband and wife both with movement disorders, but it's... we kind of laugh about it to this day, just the irony of it, so to speak. But our movement disorders have some similarities, but there are some striking differences as well. And so in these early years for me, I was going to doctors. I got a diagnosis early on of myoclonus. However, I didn't resonate with the diagnosing doctor very well. And I felt like he was pretty just kind of short on information and explanation on how to live, how to kind of navigate this new world that I was starting to live in, and I didn't feel satisfied that I was given the full information, or maybe in some level I might even doubted the diagnosis still. And so that sent me on a search to see some other doctors. It wasn't until I saw a neurosurgeon who worked with like sports rehab, professional sports folks, that he saw my MRIs and everything and told me that I was barking up the wrong tree. His exact words.
Yeah.
And that's a quote.
I remember that moment like it was yesterday.
Yeah. It's one of those.
He wasn't mean either.
No.
He was so nice.
He was very
about it.
nice. Yeah. It sounds a little short, I guess. If you just hear me retell the story, so to speak. But he wasn't saying it in any sort of short way or an uncaring way at all. But it was just a very matter-of-fact way, and it was really the words I needed to hear. And it was one of those moments that we all have that kind of changes your life to some extent. And so I knew that I needed to go in a different direction at that point. And so at that point, they referred me to a local neurology group, and I went there, and I found a wonderful doctor. I had for several years, and before he retired, wonderful man, and he confirmed the diagnosis of myoclonus and the other symptoms, and then.
But he didn't really know a lot.
Yeah, he didn't.
About it. It was still out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
In the sense that it was not something that he saw every day.
Right. Yeah, I would say so. It was kind of. That's a kombucha, by the way. I'm not drinking a beer.
I would drink a beer.
I didn't say anything wrong with having a beer, but I'm drinking kombucha. I'm a big kombucha fan. And some of the bottles they look like beer bottles, but
that's a really good one.
But yeah, and there's a certain definitely unknown factors to these kinds of movement disorders. Myoclonus is, I would say I don't think it's rare, but it's not super common either. It's not an everyday thing.
Well, and it can be caused by so many different types
it can be caused
of
by
things. I had surgery and then I got this. Or
surgery, trauma, injury,
car accident.
Accidents. So, I mean,
people with FMD and FMD can have their stuff be like myoclonic,
or dystonia. Sure.
So
and there's so much. There's so many things that connect in these kinds of things, and so many things that have similarities but yet distinct differences for the individual or for the pathology that the person's experiencing. But yeah, I ended up deciding to do a little further research and ended up going to Columbia University in New York. And we
live in Portland, Oregon, by the way. We live in the United States on the West Coast. We didn't mention that.
Yeah. So we wanted to do more extended research by people that would be basically really knowledgeable in this area. They've seen a lot more of it than maybe some of our local doctors had. And so went there and did some further testing, did some nerve conduction studies and EMG tests, and definitely confirmed that I have some nerve damage.
But that was not just like, that was like new info they gave you.
Yeah, definitely.
It wasn't just confirming. It was like, what?
Right, yeah, it was kind of both. It was kind of confirmation and new information in terms of, confirming that there's nerve damage there, and that it's just kind of verifying what's, what was kind of being, said earlier on. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of answer to a 3-year road. It's like 3.5 years trying to figure it out. So
we burst into tears.
Yeah, it's
to get like a
relief.
You have nerve damage that's causing this.
Yeah.
It was like,
wow. So it's the kind of thing where you spend several years trying to figure these things out, and you're going through the ups and downs of not knowing, going down, in my case, going down roads that turned out to not be the right track, and trying some conventional therapies and trying some alternative therapies and just different things that just didn't work out, and then finally getting some answers that were concrete really meant a lot. And so when you're riding that kind of emotional roller coaster for several years there, it's nice to get some of those answers. And so up to that point, I was taking medications like clonazepam that was about the main thing that really helped me to control the movements. And the doctors at Columbia University recommended trying Botox injections, of which I did one, maybe two, but I think it was just one. And for me, it was it was just a bizarre response, because my leg, when it shakes, is so powerful. It basically kind of has a build-up cycle, and then it just kind of has to release. And if it doesn't release, then it's going to need a drug to suppress it. So it's either going to shake for hours, sometimes 8 hours a day, sometimes just an hour or two.
If you let it out.
If I let it out, if I relax and kind of let my leg just kind of go, or it's going to take medication to suppress it. And so that's changed my life in a lot of ways. But I tried the Botox treatment, and that was just weird because I could tell my leg wanted to shake, but it's Botox causes like partial paralysis. So the muscle itself wouldn't quite move, but yet I could feel the nerve energy kind of running through it like it would want to shake it. And then as the Botox started wearing off, it actually started shaking through that. It was kind of a bizarre feeling. And so I didn't pursue that treatment, that therapy. Tried another drug, tried a Keppra at the recommendation of doctors from local research university. And that just didn't work out.
This is not medical advice. This is just personal testimony.
Yeah. And that didn't work out so well for me. So just suffice it to say that my experience of having this movement disorder, and dealing with doctors and both conventional and alternative, and the search for professional medical help, and the ups and downs of that, as well as trying different medications and therapies, some of which help and many which just don't, or actually give you side effects that aren't worth it. I get it. I get the challenges, the frustration. I had a breakthrough probably about 6 years into having the myoclonus. I have a sister who's a homeopath. Her name's Karen. She's lovely sister and human being, and she had worked on my case for a long time. And just kind of stayed with it. Continued with me over a couple of years of trying different homeopathic remedies, some of which kind of helped, but nothing really quite did anything for it. And she finally got me the right remedy, or a remedy that was helpful. And within about a month or so, I was able to get off the medication I was taking, and basically gave me my life back in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to bother to mention the remedy that she gave me, because the medications, the remedies for me aren't so important, because you would have to see and check with your doctor, or if you have a homeopath, to find a homeopath that could prescribe for you, because those things are going to be based on your individual case. So
I have to say, on that note, when I first got the FMD, Karen also took my case and found me a remedy, and I can't remember, but I believe it was within 12 hours my movements went from repetitive, non-stop kind of things that needed to be suppressed with like diazepam, which as you can see, I'm yawning incessantly because I'm in a phase where I'm having to be on that stuff again, so I'm so tired. But the point is, it also was made huge difference. Homeopathy with the right person who knows what they're doing was also incredibly profoundly helpful. And see, the thing is, it's based on by your symptoms, and so it's kind of nice you don't need a diagnosis to still get help, right? So anyways, that was just a side note, because it was also incredibly helpful, and Karen is an amazing woman. So I just wanted to mention that, because I didn't tell that in my story at all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think homeopathy is very worthwhile. I think naturopathic medicine is very worthwhile. But
there's a spot for everything.
There's a place for everything, and everybody's in a different place, and so you have to kind of find what works for you.
It's not always the same.
No, it's not. And what we need at different times changes too. So, and so we're just sharing our testimony. When we're talking about doctors or medications that I've taken or we've tried or naturopathic treatments. Again, it's not to be construed as medical advice. It's just it's our testimony. It's our story. And we just want to share our story with you for many reasons, because we're trying to kind of reach out to a larger community of people who have gone through these similar experiences or are suffering, both personally with these conditions, or their carers or caregivers. And so we want we want to lend our journey and what we've learned and what we're learning together. And so for me, the early years were a lot harder than they are now. The early years were a lot more problematic, but I still have setbacks now. Different things cause me issues. When I get sick or when I get the flu, my movement disorder gets worse. There's things in my life that are different factually now. I can't do anymore. I can't do certain repetitive activities anymore. I used to, for example, love going to the gym and working out, lifting weights and riding a bike, and I can't really do any of that anymore. I know it's hard to believe I've maintained this chiseled physique over all these years without lifting a single weight. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, really, I'm not able to do the things I like to do. I used to like to lift light weights, and ride bikes was a big one for me. And I just can't do any of that anymore. Those are real dreams of mine. When to ride the bike to the coast or in Central Oregon and so forth. Still miss those things. I still love those things. So I've had to kind of learn how to adapt my life without them, and I've had to kind of
find new things,
find different exercise routines. And for me, that looks a lot different now than the things that I gravitate towards. I do a lot of stretching, yoga type stuff. I'm going to be getting into doing some more yoga stuff. I do
what you can when you can, because it's all you got.
Yeah, and some years I was able to do more, and some years I was able to do less. And honestly, that stuff changes day to day. I mean, I've been kind of saying this phrase for the last year or so, especially to Larissa. Do what you can when you can.
I always get so hard on myself, and you're like, no, do what you can if you can when you can.
Yeah, and because and I realize it's not that I just coined some phrase, but it's easy to remember. I like it, but I realized it was kind of born. It was born naturally out of my 13 years of experience of living with a movement disorder, because I realized that these years for me have been defined a lot by that, doing what I can when I can, and that sometimes looks a lot different. Some days we're going out, we're going to the beach, and we're taking pictures, and we're bird watching, and we're doing fun stuff. There's other times where we're getting up, and we're getting enough dishes done so we can eat food, and we are kind of hunkering down, and we're just resting because maybe my movement disorder is really bad, or Larissa's in a lot of pain, or her movements are really bad, and we just need to kind of rest and take care of one another. So doing what you can when you can isn't some sort of phrase or slogan to be going out and living your best life. It's more about the reality and practicality of, hey, this is what I have to work with on this particular day, and
being okay with that.
Yeah, and some days it's going to be a lot, and we have a lot to work with, and other days it's not much. In fact, we're working from such a deficit that we're just trying to get through the day. I noticed that some of my myoclonus, some of the symptoms have changed over the years. I get some breathing symptoms with it once in a while when it gets bad. I've had some other weird symptoms in my body with it. I won't go over each and every one of them, but suffice it to say, it definitely things like this that affect your whole body do just that. They can affect your whole body.
Which is a lot like things like FND. And
there's a lot of similarities. I do have some sensory symptoms that I get sometimes now, sensitivities and things like that, and triggers, like a lot of you guys, I don't know what the future holds for me either, or for Larissa. I'm just going day by day. I realize, sometimes in the back of my mind, I get concerned and think, wow, this thing could really kind of take me down, because it has before, and you get concerned about it, or your loved one, like, wow, this has the potential to kind of just sideline everything, and I think it's a valid concern, but at the same time, these kinds of things in life seem to have their own ebbs and flows, and their own.
Sorry, I'm distracting you.
No, it's fine. They have their own ebbs and flows, and they have their own, the good days and the bad days, and you have your own phrases and your own words for it. But yeah, we share a lot in common, and one thing I was gonna say one of the bigger things that's helped me kind of mentally and emotionally.
I'm fine. It's okay.
That over the years with my own condition is a certain level of acceptance, and I've had a little time in this to accept mine. And actually, I'm still in the process of kind of accepting what's happening to Larissa. It's only been about a year for her, so
it's like a year and 4 months now.
Yeah,
It flies. It's just going.
Well, what we have to realize is we have to kind of go through our own process, and we have to kind of accept that we're in a process, and we have to accept that it takes time to readjust, to reacclimate to life. I know I've personally had to give up some dreams by having a movement disorder and dealing with this, but I also realize that I'm extremely grateful for the things that I do have, and for the life and the opportunities that are still before me. And again, some of those days are pretty fantastic, and some of those days are pretty not fantastic. But I'm grateful for them. And Larissa, we're still going through accepting what's going on with her, and honestly not even knowing exactly fully what it all is going to look like or what we're dealing with. But we're just pressing on.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because when we got married, Darren had a movement disorder. And we dealt with the ups and downs of that, and going through phases of like me struggling with empathy because it was like non-stop that he had issues, and times when it was just so overwhelming, and you lack empathy at times because it's like all the time, and you get overwhelmed and you get desensitized. And then golly, we've been almost married 12 years. And so for like 11 years of our marriage, we dealt with Darren having a disability that affected his nervous system and things that had been really challenging in a lot of ways. And it affected our marriage in a lot of different ways at times. And we've grown so much through it. But it was so weird for then me to have this happen, and for us to even before my actual movement disorder started, just as my overall the pain and started ravaging and kind of degenerating my system, we've just over time have stepped in both the roles of the carer that needs to be the helping, compassionate hand of support and love and graciousness, but then we've also been the one that's that's been the recipient of that, and being the one that struggles. And there's times when we both struggle, and that's when the people in our life around us, the community that God has graciously given us through our church and various people groups that we have. And I highly recommend that if you're not, I highly recommend that you find a local Bible teaching church and go there. But if that's not where you are at in life, find like a support group meetup. There's so many of those groups that have like meetups for chronic pain. I've been actually thinking about going to one, but I've never been well enough to go. I'm getting on a sidetrack. But my point really is just that we've had a really unique and wonderful opportunity through this to really understand where the other one's coming from. And so in future videos, we really hope to speak to both those of you that suffer through disability and hardship, and also those that are the carer, because we feel like we have so much to say to all of you.
Absolutely. I got to say, one of the things that was a real awesome thing for me was having had myoclonus for about 11 years. About 11 years into it, I discovered that Facebook had developed some groups for myoclonus sufferers, and so I joined some of these groups, and it was just fantastic. Honestly, I wish those groups were around like 10 years ago, because that would have been really the time I could have really been using them. But nevertheless, it's still been an incredible opportunity to be able to network, and a lot of these folks have done research and found out information, and it's just like these other groups. You take what you can, and you try to learn from it, and you try to use what's applicable, or run it by your doctor and see if that's something that they think is wise. But you know,
Community.
the community is what we're talking about.
There's
you know?
really cool FND and FMD groups on Facebook too that you can try to join. You can join. It changed my life to find other people that
Yeah.
to help me feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah.
You know, and so we started this channel to reach the people that
Absolutely.
don't have Facebook, because I just got Facebook and it opened up such a huge world to me. And so I hope for those that don't have Facebook that might be able to start a community here. So maybe in this video, if you're watching this on YouTube, one, if you like it, leave a comment and tell us where you're from, because it'd be so cool to hear
Yeah.
where are you from
Yeah.
and you're struggling.
Totally.
Maybe what if you're comfortable, share with what you're struggling with. It would be so neat to see who's in our little community.
Yeah, and you know the thing is like there may not sometimes in our own little sphere that we exist in life, that you know we have our you know, if we're working or we're in school or whatever little communities we're part of, you know, those are fairly small circles. But you know, when you start expanding out into social media and things like that, it just grows exponentially. And so what sometimes appears like I felt like for a lot of years having myoclonus, that I'm just kind of a, you know, I don't think I've met anybody in person before that has it. And so, you know, even to this day. But yet, nevertheless, it was pretty exciting to meet and share with people through Facebook that have it, because then I didn't feel quite as alone. And, you know, it's a place that I could go and, you know, share information or get some information. And so that's what we hope to be, is a bit of a resource. And also, you know, some of these groups, sometimes, you know, we want to, you know, we want to try to keep things positive. We want to keep it real, and we're going to share the struggle and the reality of it. We're going to try to keep it positive, because you know, sometimes groups can kind of spiral into, you know, negative cycles and things like that. And so, you know, our hope is to be an encouragement to you, wherever you may be at and what you're facing, to you know, keep pressing on, and to you know, do what you can when you can, and keep seeking the support you need. Finding support and seeking support is really important, and that goes from your medical professionals and your doctors all the way down to support groups, family and friends. And so, you know, in some small way, if we can be of an encouragement, then this was worth you know, the effort that we put into it. And likewise, you can be an encouragement to us as well. And
You already have. Those of you that have reached out and left comments or reached out on Facebook, it's been so humbling and rewarding to hear such positive feedback. And we were also thinking, like, we have so much to say, and we were thinking maybe even doing like some Q&As where you guys could tweet us your questions or leave comment in the comment section below, questions that you would want to ask us, or things you would want us to discuss, because between the two of us, I mean, you've got what, 13 years of a movement disorder?
Yeah.
I think I've had I've had severe chronic health, like pain issues and FND looking stuff for about 13 years, and then this FND, FMD for sure for the last 15 months or so. So
yeah,
we
definitely
got
talk
a lot
about.
to say.
And you know, questions are good, because you know, I mean, we both
don't know what you want, or if you even like these.
yeah, and you know, we have stories. I mean, I have stories that are like, you know, bummer stories, and I have stories that are kind of funny, you know, and I've had things happen to me or things I've had to deal with that may have been unpleasant at the time, but now I can laugh about, you know. But nevertheless, you know, I can definitely, you know, I've had the experience of going through some of this stuff, and you know, and if I can share it with somebody that's helpful for them, you know, it's you know, more than worth it. But and then also just you know, the biggest challenge is finding steady ground in a unsteady movement disorder world.
That's funny.
That's, you know, I've been pretty fortunate where I've had some time where my leg hasn't been as bad, but you know, it looks like a partial seizure when it's going off, and it could be pretty. I mean, it can be pretty disturbing, pretty challenging. So, we definitely
We have a lot more
want
to share, I guess, is
Yeah.
what we're trying to say.
And so, yeah.
Let us know what you want.
Yeah. And
Leave a comment.
Yeah, leave a comment, leave a question.
If you're not already subscribed, you can hit the
Yeah.
subscribe button below. And then don't forget the little bell, because the bell is what will notify you when we do put out a new video. And we don't want you to miss out on the chit chat.
Yes, and we also want to chit chat about other things too. You know, sometimes
Darren wants us to actually go out and have fun
Yeah,
and bring
once-
you with us.
Yeah,
so.
once in a while, I want to like to go out to a park or somewhere fun and do something. And you know,
Yeah, is there anything in Portland
Yeah.
that you have heard about and you want to see? Maybe we can go there and show you around.
yeah.
We
and-
always have wanted to be tour guides, so
Yeah, you'd be a virtual tour guide.
yeah.
But you know, on a days that we're feeling good and we're feeling up to it, and we can get out and we can share a bit about our lives and what we're experiencing too. But you know, we don't know what this will not turn into. But you know, we definitely you know, and I suppose over time you could probably some of these things that we say could be you know, something that you could, I don't know what I'm saying. So.
Oh, he's always like, keep your vlog short. They want it short.
Yeah. So, anyways, let us
It's
know.
not so easy, is it?
No, it's not. But yeah, let us know what you think, and if there's something that we can offer you, you know, in terms of
Support
our
or-
experience, let us know. We do like to pray for people too,
Let
and
us
so
know if we
you
can pray for you.
leave a comment, and that's more than fine. And yeah,
Tell us where you're from.
yeah, we want to know where you're from and what it's like where you're at in your part of the world. And